What about, do we got time to go to the third run? The red steer? Ooh, one more. Boy, here we go. Oh, break straight. Steer stepped away. Oh no, rain, 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 rain back out. This is where he kind of came back to me. I was a little aggressive riding, but I put myself in a position, and I remember thinking, like, I've got to throw now.
Like that's what you're thinking right there, is you got to throw?
Well, not yet, but the steer's going to roll. In my head right now, I'm like, okay, he's rolling. I'm down kicking. And then he starts to swing and hit. I think my left hand comes up right here. And this is where he's hitting and he's coming back now. And I'm like, oh no, like I'm going to be too close if I don't put it on the ground right here and get my horse to stop. Like that's definitely a little more to the inside than I wanted to be. So I guess you could say backdoored him, you know?
But I was just, go back to that one, or right when his loop started to hit. Right there. Or one more. But yeah, you laid it right on top.
Mm-hmm. I do that.
The Honda's on the left side of the left leg.
Yeah.
Which that's what you needed to do.
Sometimes my top strand will literally hit on the top of the tailhead. It's, I don't know if it's good or bad. It's worked.
Well, that's where you needed to, because he, like you said, when he kind of took the half wrap, it took a second. He kind of floated, and then that's when you close the gap. And if you try to heel him normal right here, it's just going to spin in front of the feet.
Right. Or I have to keep swinging.
This is what I talk about a lot, like right here, turning your coils back. Mm-hmm. But it's tight. It's tight. Mm-hmm. Everything's tight.
It's all measurements.
Yeah. And so that's why, like what you said a second ago, or the subject is, I would not think that's crazy or wrong at all to do that.
And it helped me here a lot, because I've obviously gained too much on the cow. I heeled him where I needed to, but it helped me kind of get the slack out so I could finish the run quicker.
Right.
Like I didn't have to hold my slack for an extra jump, you know, because my horse isn't staying in the ground. He comes through it a little bit more. So I'm like I'm almost falling away from it, like, oh, get all that slack out.
Right.
But then it ends up, I feel like it shut the run down faster than potentially could have been, you know.
So go back to right there. Go when his left hand's down. So see, your reins are pretty long right here. Forward, sorry. So you went from that was a complete flop. You had coils straight down to coils straight down the other way. But what I noticed the most, go till his left hand's down the other way.
Boom, right there. Yep.
Okay, so stop right there. Your right rein is the one that's tight, not your left rein.
Right.
So your horse, he still has his head to the left, because it's not that tight.
Right.
If you got short reins right there, and your horse's neck reins at all, you're going to turn him completely off.
I know my other horse will spin around.
And so that's why, like the reins thing to me, I know everybody says it's personal preference, but I feel like your personal preference needs to be this, or because how many times, so you end up winning 8,000 this day. If your reins are short, you win 0 this day on this steer, because something bad is going to happen. Given that the situation is the same and you heel him in the same kind of spot,
right?
That close, need to get your slack out. You're going to miss your dallies. Something's going to go bad. The horn's going to move.
Right.
Where this time nothing moved.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
like you said earlier, now that I sit here and think about the different steers, it's all the same run, but we had 5 completely opposite, just all over the board steers.
Well, and that's why I like watching these, because when I watched these last night. I watched it 3 times, and I was like, man, I don't really know. I'm going to have a hard time talking about this, because it looks like you just made the same run 5 times, but then the more you get to looking at it, there's a lot more stuff. And that's the stuff that's when I think it looks the best or feels the best, is when somebody at first glance, even I watched it 3 times in a row and thought the same thing all 3 times, that you guys made the same run.
Yeah.
And that's the illusion you can create if you're doing what you need to do per steer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's where
what I'd like to get better at, and Pace touched on this earlier when we had our little intermission, is you set things up and you have so much control all the time. And I feel like I'm a little more of the street ball, no rules, like just get in there and get it over with. Maybe rely on my rope a little more. I don't know what. That's one thing I'm really wanting to work on, is framing everything up a little better and trying to be in control and definitely setting things up way bit much better.
I feel two different ways about it. I think it's good. I do think it's good, but if I'm being honest, I'm trying to work on the other way because times are different now.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? When I was your age and rolling along, you didn't have to do what you have to do now, and the headers were doing different stuff. Like the head rope went on and the steer didn't turn.
Right.
So if you were, then if you were doing it like you're saying you do it now, it would have been a bad combination.
Yeah.
Now they're turning them so fast that sometimes you don't have time to frame anything up.
Right. For sure.
You know what I mean? And the reason I say I like both, I like having it is because there is times where you can do it and it's handy to have because it makes it simple. But the one thing that I've noticed the most out of anything is the times that I feel like I get to do that now are getting less and less all the time.
To frame it up?
Yeah. The times that I get to come across, like when I get to come across there and just set this up to where this is a no miss situation for me, no matter what happens. Yeah. It's those types of deals where that's 2 rodeos a year, or, you know what I mean? Or certain jackpots, which hardly happens ever. If something happens and you get the lead and things kind of fall apart and now you just have to go catch the last one or the last couple. I guess what I'm saying is it's not enough to try to make that what you're trying to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if you'd ask me this, if it's 8 years ago, yeah, absolutely need to do this because that's what's going on. But now, like I'm trying to work back into what you're saying you're doing right now. Like I'm trying to make myself, if I not do that as much, just get in there and they're trying to head the steer and turn him. Well, when he turns, I need to be trying to heal him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's I don't even really know how to answer it as far as that goes, because it's like I'm not telling you it's not good to have, but then I'm also telling you like you need to keep doing what you're doing too at the same time, because you're going to have you're going to need to be better at what you're doing now more than doing that. You know what I'm saying?
More than in control. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and saying that, but what it looks like you're doing at this jackpot, it doesn't look out of control. Right. There's ways to do what you're doing in control. You know what I mean? Right.
Exactly. That's where I kind of go with it. I always think about what I could do to make my riding more consistent, or my roping, which obviously I caught 5 steers in a row that day, but it's harder than a guy thinks, and I think the key to the more jackpots style is the consistency in the riding and the roping. I feel like I heal all these steers just like I would at a rodeo. Right. And I feel like there's a lot of you guys that I kind of grew up watching, that it's two different styles completely.
Right. Well, and it is. And that's why, and now every time I go to a jackpot, I tell myself, heal them like I do at the rodeo. Well, is what I tell them. And I'm glad you said it, because that you're exactly right. It used to be, I jackpotted and I rodeoed. Right. Now it's all the same thing to me. Yeah. And because it literally used to be just the complete opposite. The jackpots that you had to try to rope like you were at a rodeo were so few and far between that you just got by if you needed to do it. Yeah. But it wasn't that big a deal. And now the jackpots that you get to rope like you're at a jackpot, well, surely we can do that if we need to or get the chance to. Right. But I tell myself now on the first one of the day, I'm trying to be 5 on the front. I mean, I want to be as aggressive. I mean, not do anything dumb. But,
shut the run down.
Right. Yeah. I'm not trying to go 3 jumps on the first one at a jackpot ever. Right. If I can help it. You know what I mean? Just because.
And where I kind of got that idea was, I used to obviously watch the BFI, the grip, those out in the middle of the arena running them down. Everybody's so framed up and setting it up, and it just, you make it so simple But then that's where I had troubles because I try to be aggressive. Try to just be there and throw as soon as I can within reason.
Right. And so, okay, so from what I would think from you saying that, to me, it would be just a thing of your personal focus of being able to kind of regulate, not getting too amped up, not trying to get in there too much, and doing what you're doing this day. You know what I mean? There's a line right there that you could cross that's going to make it, you're going to mess up.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then there's the line of not being as aggressive and getting behind that line to where you're mess up. So to me, there's that lane, this right here and this right here, you stay in there. Yeah. That's where you can do whatever you need to do.
That's kind of how I feel about it too. It's like, if I just get to a good spot, if I'm in a decent spot and the head rope goes on, or if I'm in the play, then my rope and it's kind of going to handle itself. Right. I mean, that might sound weird to people, but I don't really stress too much about my rope, and I've handled a rope my whole life. Right. That's what I was telling you about confidence. If I had to rely on my roping, I wouldn't really sweat it. I don't feel like I'd be more concerned about my riding and how I set the run up.
Right. And I tell people that all the time. There's you get to a certain level of, for you or for me, putting our rope on 2 feet is not hard.
Right.
So there's not just days where, man, it felt easy today. Man, it felt like as hard as it could be today. That's the days that you rode terrible. You never got in a good spot.
Yep.
So it's going to feel as hard as it can possibly feel. You're going to feel like you don't even know how to do it.
That makes sense.
And the days that it feels like this looked every single time, and we can sit here and pick it apart.
Right.
But it didn't look like to me on any of these steers this day, not one of the 5 was it like, oh man, you got by that one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you caught all 5 of those before you turned in to me, you know?
Right.
And like the short round one that the one you asked, we talked about the bubble on the ground a little bit.
Yeah. That's this too.
That's the kind of stuff where I would just worry about what my focus, like you can kind of see that, but you're already coming in. And so you did the right thing. And you did it enough to make yourself catch. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that, even though like if you want to be picky, I don't know how you could have read it better though. You know what I mean? Because that's what I think a lot of people have trouble with, and I mean myself included, is there's certain times, and this is one of them. Like when they turn the steer, the read we get, we're expecting that the next, like heeling is in the future.
Right. You have to predict.
Right. So you get your read as soon as you get your read, then bam, that's your plan. That's the next jump. Yep. So the read wasn't correct, but it had nothing to do with you. That's out of your hands at that point.
That was the information I was given, you know.
Right. So to me, this is a prime example of something that could have ruined a great day that really wasn't have been your fault.
Right.
Because the very next jump that was after the read that you were given was not the same.
Yeah.
And if it's going to be any different, to me, it needs to be faster. If you get a read right here and the steer goes faster, he's still moving.
Right.
So it's a way easier. We can go forward.
Yeah, always.
But when you're going forward and then especially when you're throwing and then the momentum comes back to you, that can be deadly. Yeah.
Kind of lap up too much.
Yeah. And, or get it inside leg, like what could have happened right there. Like thankfully it was just enough. Like he kept the steer moving right when he needed to after that.
Right.
To make it all go okay. But you know, and that is like you were talking about confidence. That's what makes it so hard to me to do this. How we do it is this is on the very last steer of the day. You rope great all day. And something so little could have ruined everything. You know what I mean?
Completely.
And then so now all of a sudden you lose, heel as good as you could heel all day long and lose. And then you go to the next jackpot the next day thinking, man, I'm heeling terrible.
Right.
You know, I mean, start the next day not how you should have started it because of something like that. So thankfully it didn't go that way. But that, you know, that's the kind of stuff that's what makes heeling for a living hard.
And fun.
Hard and fun. Fun when it goes like this. Hard when it goes the other way.
That's for dang sure. And it's a game of failure. especially heeling. We don't get to throw our rope every time. So it's
Right.
like, if you do go down the rabbit hole in the mental side, it can be hard to climb
Right.
out of. I just choose not to.
Well, so yeah, I feel like it's like happiness. It's if you wake up every day, you got to choose just do as good as you can, steer for steer, and not let yourself get how it can get.
Mm-hmm.